The year was 2187, and humans thought they had finally made friends among the stars. The Vreth Dominion had arrived 3 years ago with promises of peace and trade. Their ships were beautiful, covered in silver patterns that caught the light. Their diplomats spoke softly and smiled often. Everyone believed they could be trusted. Captain Jiwoo Kim stood on the bridge of her ship, the Steadfast Dawn. She watched the space station called Meridian Point through the wide windows. The station floated peacefully in the darkness, its lights twinkling like a small city. Inside that station, hundreds of humans lived and worked. They were building a new future with alien friends. At least that was what they all believed. Jiwoo had short black hair and tired eyes. She had been escorting diplomatic ships for 2 years now. It was boring work, but important. Today was supposed to be special. The Vreth were hosting a cultural festival on Meridian Point. There would be music, food, and games. Human families had been looking forward to it for weeks. On the station, Ambassador Daeun Lee helped her son Minho tie his shoes. The boy was 8 years old with bright eyes and a wide smile. He bounced with excitement. Today he would see alien performers and taste alien candy. His school friends would all be there too. 48 children in total, all excited for the festival. "Mom, will the Vreth really show us their light dances?" Minho asked. Daeun smiled and kissed his forehead. "Yes, sweetheart. And you'll get to see their musical instruments." "Isn't that exciting?" Dr. Heejin Park walked through the station's medical wing. She was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life. For months, she had been working with Vreth scientists. They shared information about biology and medicine. The Vreth seemed genuinely interested in helping humans understand their anatomy. Heejin thought they were kind and curious. The festival began in the station's main plaza. Colorful banners hung from the ceiling. Human and Vreth music mixed together in a pleasant melody. Children ran between food stalls, laughing and shouting. Parents relaxed, drinks in hand. Vreth delegates moved through the crowd, their tall bodies graceful and calm. Overseer Tlaxith stood near the center stage. He was the lead Vreth representative with smooth gray skin and large dark eyes. He watched the children play with what looked like interest. What the humans did not know was that he was counting them. Every single one. The first sign that something was wrong came at exactly 14:37 station time. The lights flickered. Then they went out completely. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in dim red. People murmured nervously. Some laughed, thinking it was part of the show. Then the humming started. It was low and deep, felt more than heard. Adults suddenly grabbed their heads. They stumbled and fell. Within seconds, every adult human in the residential sectors collapsed to the floor. They were not dead, just unconscious. The Vreth had released neural dampeners throughout the station's air systems. The children stood confused and scared. They called for their parents, but the adults would not wake up. Vreth soldiers appeared from hidden corridors. They wore black armor and moved with purpose. They did not hurt the children. They simply gathered them, speaking in soft voices. "Do not be afraid," they said. "Your parents are sleeping. You will be safe with us." Minho tried to run back to his mother, but a Vreth soldier picked him up gently. "Let me go," he screamed. "Mom, wake up." But Daeun lay on the floor, her eyes closed, her breath steady. She could not hear her son crying. The Vreth moved quickly. They herded all 48 children through corridors most humans did not even know existed. Hidden passages built into the station during construction. The Vreth had planned this for a long time. The children were pushed into transport pods. Some cried. Others were too shocked to make any sound. Captain Jiwoo received the emergency alert 16 minutes later. Her heart dropped as she read the words on her screen. All adults incapacitated. Children missing. Vreth ships departing. Battle stations. She shouted. "Get us to that station now." The Steadfast Dawn raced toward Meridian Point, but it was already too late. 3 Vreth ships broke away from the station and jumped into slip space. They vanished in flashes of blue light. Jiwoo slammed her fist on the console. They had been so close. When Jiwoo and her crew boarded the station, they found chaos. Adults were starting to wake up, confused and sick. Parents stumbled through corridors, calling for their children. The screaming started when they realized what had happened. Ambassador Daeun fell to her knees in the plaza, sobbing Minho's name over and over. Dr. Heejin found something in the medical wing. A Vreth datapad left behind in the rush. She plugged it into her computer and her face went pale as she read. Files upon files of scans. Brain scans. Neural pathway analysis, genetic markers. The Vreth had been studying human children for months. Every checkup, every friendly health screening had been part of it. There was a message on the datapad. Just one line in English. Soft clay makes the strongest vessels. Heejin's hands shook. She understood immediately. The Vreth wanted the children because young human brains were flexible. They could be changed, molded, programmed. Whatever the Vreth planned, it involved turning these children into something else. Captain Jiwoo called for backup. Within hours, human military ships began arriving. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. 48 children stolen, taken by aliens they had trusted. The outrage was instant and fierce. The Galactic Council released a statement. They condemned the abduction. They called it regrettable and concerning. They promised to investigate. They did nothing else. The other alien species watched but did not act. They talked about jurisdiction and proper procedures. They said humans must be patient, but humans were not patient. Not about their children. Admiral Junho Kang was put in command of the largest search operation in human history. Every available ship was mobilized. Every resource was directed to one goal: find the children and bring them home. On Earth, parents watched the news with tears running down their faces. They looked at their own children sleeping safely and felt a cold terror. If it could happen to those 48, it could happen to any of them. Diane Lee appeared on every news channel. Her face was drawn and pale. Please, she begged. If anyone knows where they are, tell us. They're just children. They must be so scared. Minho was scared. He sat in a dark cell on a Vreth ship with 7 other children. They huddled together, crying. The walls were metal and cold. Strange lights blinked on panels they could not read. Footsteps echoed outside. A Vreth entered the cell. It was not Overseer Talaxith. This one wore a white coat. Do not fear, it said. You will not be harmed. You are precious. You will be made strong. I want my mom, Minho whispered. The Vreth tilted its head. You will forget her soon. You will become something better. The door closed. The children held each other and cried in the darkness. Above them, stars streaked past as the ship carried them further from home, further from safety, into a nightmare that was only beginning. 3 months had passed since the children vanished. 3 months of searching empty space and following dead leads. Admiral Junho Kang had barely slept. His fleet searched every corner of known space, but the Vreth were clever. They hid their tracks well. On Earth, families waited. They held on to hope, but each day made it harder. Some parents stopped eating. Others could not stop crying. The world watched and grieved together. Every human felt the loss, even those without children. It was a wound that bled into every heart. Lieutenant Suji Nam was a woman who did not give up easily. She had cold eyes and quick hands. Before joining intelligence, she had been special forces. She knew how to hunt. Now she hunted Vreth ships with silent fury. Her team had been tracking supply routes. The Vreth needed food, fuel, and equipment. Those things had to come from somewhere. For weeks they watched and waited. Finally, they found a pattern. A supply ship that traveled alone far from Vreth military protection. That's our target, Suji said, pointing at the screen. We take it quietly. We find out what they know. The raid happened in deep space far from any planet. Suji's team boarded the Vreth supply ship in silence. They moved through corridors with weapons ready. Most of the Vreth crew surrendered immediately. They were merchants, not soldiers. But in the cargo hold, they found something unexpected. A Vreth scientist named Hanul Song huddled behind storage containers. He was small for his species, with pale skin and frightened eyes. When Suji's team found him, he put his hands up. Please, he said in broken English. Do not kill, I help. I tell everything. Suji grabbed him by the collar. Where are the children? Hanul's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, so sorry. I did not know it would be this way. They brought him back to the human fleet. Admiral Junho himself interrogated Hanul. The Vreth scientist shook as he spoke, but he did not lie. He told them everything. The Vreth had been planning this for years. They were an old species, but not a strong one. Other aliens bullied them, took their resources, pushed them around. The Vreth wanted soldiers who could protect them, but their own biology limited them. Vreth bodies were fragile. Their minds were rigid. Then they discovered humans. Young human brains were special. They could adapt and learn in ways adult brains could not. They could be changed. The Vreth called it neural conditioning. Humans called it something else, brainwashing. They want to make the children into weapons, Hanul said quietly. Perfect soldiers. They will change their bodies with augmentations. They will program their minds for combat. The children will not remember their parents. They will only know how to fight. Junho felt sick. How many facilities? 3, Hanul said. 1 training center. 2 research laboratories. I can give you coordinates. Dr. Heejin Park was called to examine the data Hanul provided. She had not stopped working since the abduction. Her eyes had dark circles under them. Her hands trembled as she read the files. What she saw made her want to scream. The Vreth were not just training the children. They were cutting into them, replacing bones with metal alloys, implanting chips in their brains, injecting chemicals that changed how their bodies grew. The pain must have been terrible. There were surveillance videos. Hyejin forced herself to watch. She saw Unibek, a 10-year-old girl with a bright smile strapped to a medical table. Vreth scientists worked on her body while she screamed. They injected something into her spine. Her back arched. Then she went still, her eyes empty. In another video, children fought each other in combat simulations. They moved like machines, fast and precise, but their faces were blank. No joy, no fear, just empty obedience. A small boy collapsed from exhaustion. A Vreth guard shocked him with electricity until he stood back up. Hyejin watched Minho in one clip. The 8-year-old was strapped into a chair. Lights flashed in his eyes. A voice repeated commands over and over. You are a weapon. You exist to serve. You have no family. You have no past. Minho's lips moved, repeating the words. His eyes glowed with an unnatural blue light. She could not watch anymore. Heejin ran to the bathroom and threw up. When she came back, her face was hard with rage. We need to get them out, she said to Admiral Junho. Now. Junho agreed. He presented the evidence to human leadership. The response was immediate. Earth's president authorized Operation Broken Chain. 4 battle fleets would strike the 3 facilities simultaneously. It would be the largest military action humans had ever attempted. The Galactic Council learned of the plan and sent urgent messages. You must not act with violence, they said. Let us negotiate. Let us use proper diplomatic channels. Admiral Junho's response was short. We tried diplomacy. It got our children tortured. We're done asking nicely. Ships gathered. Soldiers prepared. Every human involved in the operation knew what they were fighting for. This was not about territory or resources. This was about bringing children home. This was about making monsters pay. Hanul Song helped them plan the assault. He showed them the weak points in Vreth Station defenses. He explained the layout of each facility. Some humans wanted to kill him for being part of it. But Hanul had not hurt any children himself. He had been a low-level researcher who grew horrified by what he saw. That was why he fled. I cannot undo what was done, Hanul said, but I can help you save them. Let me do this one good thing. The fleets moved out. Inside the ships, Marines checked their weapons. Medical teams prepared emergency supplies. Everyone knew that what they would find would be bad. They had seen the videos. They knew some children might already be dead. Lieutenant Suji Nam sat in the dropship with her assault team. She looked at each soldier's face. Remember, she said, the children might not recognize us. They might even fight us. Do not hurt them. No matter what, do not hurt them. They are victims, the soldiers nodded. Some had children of their own. Others just had hearts that broke at the thought of what these kids had suffered. As the fleets approached Vreth space, alarms sounded in the facilities. The Vreth knew humans were coming. They activated defenses. They prepared to fight. But they did not know the fury they were about to face. Admiral Junho gave the order. All ships, attack formation. Show them what happens when you hurt our children. The human fleets crashed into Vreth defenses like an angry sea. Ships fired weapons with precision. Marines launched from assault craft. The battle for the children had begun. Inside the main facility, Overseer Tlaxith watched the human approach on his screens. He smiled coldly. Let them come, he said. They will see what their children have become. They will see that we have already won. But he did not understand humans. He did not understand that humans would tear apart the galaxy itself to save their young. He did not understand that he had made the worst mistake of his life. The doors exploded inward. Human Marines poured through. The battle was fast and brutal. Vreth guards fell. Corridors filled with smoke and noise. The humans fought with a rage that terrified their enemies. They showed no mercy to those who stood in their way. Deep in the facility, Minho heard the sounds of battle. His augmented hearing picked up every explosion. His modified brain processed it as a threat. The conditioning kicked in. His eyes glowed blue. He stood up, ready to fight whoever came through that door. Outside, Suji and her team fought their way deeper. They were close now. Close to the children. Close to ending this nightmare. But they had no idea what waited for them in those cells. They had no idea how much the Vreth had already stolen from these kids. Major Soman Yoon kicked down the door to the holding cells. Her armor was scorched from weapons fire. Her face was covered in sweat and dust. Behind her, 6 Marines moved with weapons ready. They had fought through 3 levels of Vreth guards to reach this place. The corridor was dark except for flickering emergency lights. The air smelled like chemicals and fear. Along both walls, metal doors were sealed shut. Behind each door, scanners showed life signs. Small life signs, children. Breach them all, Soman ordered. Get those kids out now. The Marines used cutting tools on the locks. The first door opened with a hiss. Inside, 4 children huddled in the corner. They were thin, their clothes were dirty, and their eyes were wide with terror. When they saw the humans in armor, they screamed. It's okay. Soman pulled off her helmet so they could see her face. We're humans. We're here to rescue you. You're safe now. One girl, maybe 7 years old, started crying. You came for us, really? Really, Sumin said, her voice breaking. Let's get you home. They opened more doors. Some children ran to the Marines, crying with relief. Others sat in corners, too shocked to move. Dr. Hyun Jang moved between them, checking their conditions. What she saw made her want to weep. These children had scars. Injection marks covered their arms. Some had metal ports in their skin where augmentations had been attached. We need medical evacuation for all of them, Hyun said into her radio. Multiple trauma cases. Possible neural damage. Then they reached the deeper cells. The ones for the children who had been fully augmented. The ones the Vreth considered their greatest successes. The door to cell 17 opened. Inside stood Minho, but he did not look like an 8-year-old boy anymore. His body had been changed. His bones showed through his skin in places where metal had been fused to them. His eyes glowed with blue light from the implants behind them. His face was emotionless. Soman stepped forward slowly. Minho Choi. Your mother sent us. Ambassador Daeon Lee, she wants you home. Minho's head tilted. His voice was flat when he spoke. I do not know that name. I'm Unit 17. I exist to serve the Dominion. No, Soman said firmly. You're a little boy who likes drawing and playing with toy spaceships. Your mom told us. You're Minho. Something flickered in his glowing eyes, confusion, pain. Then his body moved. Fast, too fast. He attacked before Soman could react. His small fist hit her chest armor with the force of a grown man's punch. She flew backward, crashing into the wall. The other Marines raised their weapons but did not fire. They could not shoot a child, even a child trying to kill them. Minho moved like a trained fighter. He kicked and punched with brutal efficiency. The Marines tried to hold him back without hurting him. It was nearly impossible. His strength was unnatural. His speed was too much. Sedate him! Hyun screamed. She loaded a tranquilizer dart and fired. It hit Minho's shoulder. He stumbled, confused. His glowing eyes flickered. Then he collapsed. Soman sat up, gasping. Her ribs hurt, probably cracked. She crawled to Minho's unconscious body and gathered him in her arms. His body was so small but so wrong. She felt the metal under his skin. Saw the implant scars on his head. Tears ran down her face. What did they do to you? She whispered. They found 6 more children in the same state. Fully augmented, heavily conditioned. Their minds had been partially overwritten with combat programming. When the Marines tried to extract them, all 6 attacked. It took careful coordination and many tranquilizer darts to subdue them without injury. In another section, they found the research lab. Dr. Hyun entered with 2 Marines. What she saw would haunt her forever. Medical tables with restraints, surgical tools covered in dried blood, computers showing brain scans and neural pathway maps, and in the corner, 17 small body bags. Oh God, Hyun breathed. She opened the first bag with shaking hands. Inside was a child, a little girl who looked about 6. Her body showed signs of failed augmentations. The procedures had killed her. Hyun checked each bag. 17 children dead. 17 who did not survive the Vreth experiments. She fell to her knees and sobbed. These children had families, parents who would never see them again, who would never know if their child suffered at the end. Major Soman heard the news over the radio. 17 dead, 31 alive but traumatized, 7 heavily augmented. The rage that filled her was white-hot and pure. She marched toward the command center where they had tracked Overseer Talaxith. Commodore Jiwoo Kim was already there. She had fought her way to the station's control room with a larger assault force. Breath guards lay stunned or dead around her. In the center of the room stood Overseer Talaxith. He was not afraid. He smiled. "You're too late," he said calmly. "Look at what your children have become. We have proven that humans make the finest weapons in the galaxy. Even in defeat, we have won." Jiwoo stared at him. Her hand moved to her sidearm. "You tortured children. You killed 17 of them. You call that winning?" "They were weak," Tlaxith said with a shrug. "Only the strong survive to become our soldiers. This is simply the way of things." "Not anymore." Jiwoo drew her weapon and fired once. The shot was clean and quick. Overseer Talaxith fell, dead before he hit the floor. Jiwoo's second-in-command looked shocked. "Sir, that was an execution." "The council will—" "I don't care what the council says," Jiwoo said coldly. "This monster needed to die. Let them condemn me if they want." She activated her comlink. "All forces, facility secured. Begin evacuation of the children immediately." The extraction took hours. Medical ships docked with the station. The children were carried aboard on stretchers. Some walked holding the hands of Marines who spoke softly to them. The 7 augmented children were kept sedated to prevent them from hurting themselves or others. As they loaded the last child onto a medical ship, Major Soman stood in the empty facility. Blood stained the floors. Smoke still hung in the air. This place had been a house of horrors. She wanted to burn it to the ground. Her radio crackled. "Major Admiral Junho wants footage of the facilities, everything. The galaxy needs to see what happened here." Soman understood. She activated her helmet camera and began recording. She walked through the torture rooms, showed the medical tables with restraints still covered in dried blood, recorded the computers with their cruel data, found the room where they kept the 17 bodies and recorded each small form covered in white cloth. "This is what the Vreth Dominion did," she said to the camera. "This is what the Galactic Council allowed to happen. 17 children dead, 31 tortured and traumatized, 7 turned into something they should never have become, all because we tried to be diplomatic, all because we trusted." The footage was broadcast across human networks within hours. It spread to other species soon after. The galaxy watched in horror. Images of children with metal fused to their bones, videos of small bodies in bags, recordings of kids who did not recognize their own names. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. They condemned the Vreth actions more strongly now. They issued sanctions. They spoke of justice. But for humans, it was not enough. It would never be enough. On Earth, Ambassador Daeun Lee watched the footage of the rescue. She saw her son attack the Marines, saw him collapse from the sedative, saw him carried unconscious to a medical ship. Her baby boy made into a weapon. She did not cry. She had no tears left. She just sat in silence, staring at the screen. When reporters asked for her statement, she said only one thing: "Bring them home. All of them. And make the Vreth pay for every single scar." Aboard the medical vessels, the children lay in recovery beds. Dr. Heejin Park worked tirelessly, checking each one. Some children asked for their parents. Others stared at nothing, their minds broken. The 7 augmented ones remained sedated. Their neural patterns showed confusion when scanned. Their programming fought against their original personalities. Yuna Bayek woke up crying. A nurse held her hand. "Where am I?" Yuna whispered. "Is this real? Or is it another test?" "It's real," the nurse said gently. "You're on a human ship. You're safe. The bad people can't hurt you anymore." Yuna's face crumpled. "They hurt us so much. They said our parents didn't want us. They said we were just tools." "They lied," the nurse said firmly. "Your mom has been looking for you every single day." She never stopped. None of them stopped. In his sedated sleep, Minho's augmented eyes still glowed faintly blue. His mind dreamed confused images. His mother's face mixed with combat protocols. The sound of her voice overlapped with Vreth commands. He was caught between two worlds, not fully belonging to either. The human fleet began its journey back to friendly space. Behind them, the Vreth facility was destroyed. Admiral Junho had ordered it. He wanted no trace of that nightmare left standing. The explosions lit up the dark like a funeral pyre, but the war was not over. It was only beginning. 6 months had passed since the rescue. The children were safe, but safe did not mean whole. They lived now at the New Horizon Rehabilitation Station, a place built specifically for them. It orbited Earth, close enough to home but far enough from crowds and cameras. Dr. Hyjin Park had barely left the station since it opened. Her hair had more gray in it now. Her face showed lines that had not been there before. But she worked every day, trying to undo what the Vreth had done. It was not easy. Some things could not be undone. She stood in the surgical bay looking at scans of Minho's body. The metal fused to his bones could be removed, but it would take multiple surgeries. The implants in his brain were more dangerous. Remove them wrong and he could lose memories or motor control, maybe worse. We can take out about 60%, she told Ambassador Daeun Lee. The rest is too integrated. He'll have to live with some augmentations forever. Daeun stood with her hands pressed against the glass, watching her son sleep in the recovery room. Will he remember me? Will he know he's my child? We're working on it, Hyjin said gently. The conditioning is breaking down slowly. He has moments of clarity. Yesterday he asked for his old toy spaceship. That's a good sign. In the therapy wing, children met with counselors every day. They talked about their nightmares, about the things done to them, about the fear that it might happen again. The counselors listened with endless patience, never rushing, never judging. Yuna Bayek sat in a soft chair drawing pictures. Her counselor, a kind woman named Jisoo, sat nearby. What are you drawing today, Yuna? Yuna did not look up. This is the room where they hurt us. This is the table. This is me. She pointed to a small figure strapped down. The drawing was disturbingly detailed for a 10-year-old. That must have been very scary, Jisoo said softly. They said it would make us strong, Yuna whispered. They said pain was part of becoming perfect. But I don't want to be perfect. I just want to be me again. Jisoo moved closer. You are you, Yuna. What they did does not change who you are inside. Some children recovered faster than others. Some smiled and laughed again. Others could not sleep without sedatives. The 7 heavily augmented children struggled the most. Their bodies still moved with unnatural precision. Their eyes still glowed faintly blue. The combat programming activated randomly, especially under stress. Minho was in physical therapy when it happened. A piece of equipment fell with a loud crash. The noise triggered something in his brain. His augmented reflexes kicked in. He moved faster than any child should, grabbing the therapist's arm and twisting it behind her back. His glowing eyes were empty of recognition. Security arrived quickly but carefully. They knew how to handle these episodes now. They spoke in calm voices, used no sudden movements. Eventually, Minho's grip loosened. His eyes cleared. He looked at the therapist he had been hurting and burst into tears. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Please don't send me back. The therapist, despite her pain, knelt down and hugged him. It's okay, Minho, you didn't choose this. We're not sending you anywhere. You're staying right here where you're safe. But Minho sobbed harder. I'm dangerous. I hurt people. Maybe they were right. Maybe I am just a weapon. Ambassador Daeun was called immediately. She ran to the therapy room and gathered her son into her arms. He was stiff at first. The conditioning telling him physical affection was weakness, but slowly he relaxed. His small body shook with sobs. You are not a weapon, Daeun said fiercely. You are my son. You are Minho. They tried to change you, but they failed. You are still in there. I can see you. While the children healed, humanity prepared for war. The galaxy thought the rescue was the end. They were wrong. It was only the beginning. President Yoonji Hwang addressed Earth from the capital. Her speech was broadcast across all human worlds and sent to every species in the galaxy. Her voice was calm but filled with steel. For months we tried diplomacy. We trusted the Galactic Council to deliver justice. They gave us words. They gave us sanctions. They gave us nothing that mattered. She paused, letting the silence hang. The Vreth Dominion stole our children. They tortured them. They killed 17 of them, and the galaxy asked us to be patient, to wait for proper procedures. Her eyes hardened. We are done waiting. We are done asking permission to protect our young. The Vreth Dominion will pay for what they have done. Not with fines. Not with apologies. With everything they have. The message was clear. Humanity was going to war. General Tajin Park stood in the war room surrounded by holographic displays. Fleet positions, resource allocations, target priorities. Humanity was mobilizing its full industrial might. Entire star systems were converted to war production. Shipyards worked around the clock. Factories churned out weapons and armor. "We're not just going after military targets," Tajin explained to his commanders. "We're dismantling their entire civilization. Every Vreth military installation, every research facility, every station that supported what they did to our children." Some commanders looked uncomfortable. "Sir, that's total war. The Council will—" "Let them talk," Tajin interrupted. "We gave them a chance to handle this properly. They failed. Now we handle it our way." The Galactic Council sent desperate messages. They begged humanity to reconsider. They warned of consequences. They spoke of galactic law and proper justice. President Yunji's response was short. "You had your chance. You chose procedures over children. Now watch what happens when humans stop being diplomatic." The human fleets gathered, thousands of ships each bearing a new insignia on their hull, a broken shackle, the symbol of humanity's refusal to accept this injustice. Soldiers trained with grim determination. This was not a war for territory or resources. This was about justice, about making sure no one ever dared harm human children again. But not everyone in the galaxy abandoned humanity. Some species watched the footage of the rescued children and felt genuine horror. They began sending supplies to human fleets, weapons, intelligence, medical equipment. They did it quietly, afraid of council reprimand. But they did it. An alien merchant captain named Vexal delivered ammunition to a human battle group. When asked why he risked it, he said simply, "I have younglings of my own. What was done to your children is evil. Some things are worth fighting for." Back at New Horizon Station, the children began to hear about the war. Some felt guilty. Others felt proud that humanity was fighting for them. Yuna asked her counselor about it. "Are people dying because of us?" Jisoo chose her words carefully. "People are fighting to make sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else. That's not your fault. You didn't ask to be taken. You didn't ask to be hurt. But if we weren't important, there wouldn't be a war," Yuna said quietly. "If you weren't important, that would be the real tragedy," Jisoo replied. "You are children. You deserve to be protected. That's not something to feel guilty about." Minho had a different concern. He was helping a nurse when he suddenly used his augmented strength to lift a heavy supply crate. He froze, realizing what he had done. The nurse smiled at him. "Thank you, Minho, that was very helpful." "But I used the augmentations," he said, confused. "I thought that made me a weapon." The nurse knelt to his level. "Having strength doesn't make you a weapon. What makes someone a weapon is having no choice. You chose to help me. That makes you a good kid, not a weapon." Minho thought about this for a long time. Maybe he could be both. Someone who was hurt, but also someone who was healing. Someone with abilities, but also someone with choices. In the station's garden under artificial sunlight, children played. Not all of them. Some still could not bear to be around others. But a few ran and laughed, chasing each other through the flowers. It was not the carefree play of children who had never known horror. But it was play nonetheless. It was healing. Dr. Hyejin watched them from a window. These children had survived something terrible. They bore scars, some visible, some not. But they were fighting back in their own way. By learning to smile again. By daring to trust again. By refusing to let what happened to them be the end of their story. The first human warships entered Vreth space 3 days later. The war had begun, and humanity would not stop until the Vreth understood the full price of their cruelty. 8 months of war had broken the Vreth Dominion. Their military installations were destroyed. Their fleets scattered or captured. Their colonies surrendered one by one. Humanity had fought with a fury that terrified the galaxy. Now human ships surrounded the Vreth homeworld itself. Fleet Admiral Jiwoo Kim stood on the bridge of her flagship. Through the window she could see the planet below. Billions of Vreth lived there. Families, children, innocent people who had nothing to do with what happened to the human children. She could destroy them all with a single order. Part of her wanted to, but humanity was not fighting to become monsters. They were fighting to stop them. "Open a channel to the surface," Jiwoo ordered. "Let's end this." The Vreth government had collapsed. What remained of their leadership gathered in their capital city, surrounded by human troops. Lieutenant Suji Nam led the security forces. She watched the Vreth officials with cold eyes. These were the ones who approved the program, who signed the orders, who allowed children to be stolen and tortured. Among them was Tlaxith's second-in-command, a Vreth named Kelmar. He stood with his head down, knowing what was coming. 14 other officials stood with him, all directly involved in the abduction program. The Galactic Council sent a representative. Council Speaker Vrenthal arrived on a diplomatic shuttle. He was an old alien, wise and respected. He had opposed the Council's inaction, but he had been outvoted. Vrenthal met with Admiral Jiwoo in the makeshift command center. "What will you do now?" he asked. "Will you execute them? Will you become what you hate?" Jiwoo looked tired. The war had aged her. "I've thought about that a lot. Some of my people want blood. They want the Vreth to suffer as our children suffered. I understand that anger. I feel it too, but," Vrenthal prompted. "But killing them is too easy," Jiwoo said. "Death is an escape. I want something else." The tribunal was held in orbit above the Vreth homeworld. Cameras broadcasted across the galaxy. Every species watched. The 15 Vreth officials were brought before human judges. Evidence was presented. Videos of the torture, medical records of the children, the 17 small bodies. The Vreth officials could not deny it. The proof was overwhelming. Some tried to justify it. Others begged for mercy. Kelmar said nothing. He knew there was no excuse for what they had done. The judges deliberated for 3 days. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous: guilty of crimes against sentient beings, guilty of torture, guilty of murder. Vrenthal spoke to Admiral Jiwoo before the sentence was announced. "The galaxy expects executions. It is the normal punishment for such crimes." "The galaxy can expect whatever it wants," Jiwoo replied. "We're not doing normal." The sentence was announced. The 15 Vreth officials would not be executed. Instead, they would be transported to New Horizon Rehabilitation Station. They would live there under constant supervision. They would work as servants, cleaning, cooking, maintaining the facility, and most importantly, they would care for the children they had hurt. "You wanted to see what human children could become," Admiral Jiwoo said during the sentencing. "Now you will watch them heal, grow, and thrive despite what you did to them. You will spend every day seeing the strength you tried to break. You will see them recover. You will see them smile again. And you will know that you failed." The galaxy was stunned. Some species thought the punishment too soft. Others thought it brilliantly cruel. The Vreth officials would spend the rest of their lives facing their victims. There would be no escape, no forgetting, no moving on. On New Horizon Station, the announcement caused mixed reactions. Some children were angry. They did not want their torturers anywhere near them. Others did not care. A few, including Yuna, had a different thought. "Maybe it's good," she said to her counselor. "Maybe if they have to see us every day, they'll understand what they did wrong." Kelmar and the other Vreth arrived under heavy guard. They were given small quarters, simple clothes, and strict rules. Any deviation, any threat to the children, and they would be transferred to actual prisons. This was their only chance. The first day, Kelmar was assigned to clean the medical wing. He saw Dr. Heejin working on a child's augmentation removal surgery. He saw the careful precision needed, the pain medications administered, the hours of work to undo what his program had done in minutes. He felt sick. The second day, he was assigned to the cafeteria. He served food to the children. Minho walked through the line, his eyes still glowing faintly blue. When he saw Kelmar, he froze. Fear crossed his face. Then anger. Then something else, pity. "You look scared," Minho said quietly. "We were scared too. All the time." Kelmar could not meet the boy's eyes. He put food on the tray with shaking hands. Meanwhile, the Vreth Dominion was dismantled. Their territories were placed under temporary administration by multiple species. Their military was dissolved. Their government restructured. Humanity insisted on one condition: the Children's Protection Accord. It was a simple document. Any species that harmed children of any race would face immediate human military intervention. No diplomacy. No negotiations. Instant response. Dozens of species signed it immediately, some because they agreed with it, most because they were terrified of human retribution. President Yunji Huang stood before the Galactic Council and made it clear. "We tried trusting you. We tried believing in galactic law. We learned that laws without enforcement are just words. From this day forward, humanity will enforce this one law ourselves. If you have a problem with that, you're welcome to try stopping us. No one tried. Back on the station, healing continued. Dr. Hyejin successfully removed more augmentations. Not all of them. Minho would always have some metal in his bones. His eyes would always glow faintly. But he was learning to live with it. Learning that these things did not define him. He was in the garden one day when he saw Kelmar tending to the plants. The Vreth moved carefully, trying not to disturb anyone. Minho watched him for a while, then walked over. "Why did you do it?" Minho asked. Kelmar flinched. We thought we were making our species strong. We thought the end justified the means. We were wrong. Terribly, unforgivably wrong. Do you dream about it? Minho asked. I do. I dream about the table, the pain. The voice telling me I'm just a weapon. Kelmar's hand shook. Yes, I dream about it. About all of you. I hear your screams. I see your faces. I will hear them and see them for the rest of my life. Good, Minho said softly. You should. Then he walked away. Yuna had made more progress than most. She still had nightmares, but she could sleep without sedatives now. She could laugh at jokes. She drew happy pictures sometimes, not just the dark ones. One day she volunteered to help in the cafeteria. She ended up working alongside one of the Vreth servants. The Vreth, a female named Ixal, was nervous around her. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know sorry is not enough, but I am sorry. Yuna looked at her for a long moment. Are you scared of me? I am scared you hate me, Ixal admitted. I do hate you, Yuna said honestly. But I'm trying not to let that hate control me. My counselor says hate hurts the person feeling it more than anyone else, so I'm trying to let it go. Not for you, for me. Ixal's eyes filled with tears. You are stronger than I ever was. I know, Yuna said. Then she went back to work. The rehabilitation took years. Some children recovered well. Others struggled forever with trauma. The 7 heavily augmented ones had the hardest time. But they all had one thing in common. They were surrounded by people who loved them, who never gave up on them, who reminded them every day that they were more than what had been done to them. 5 years after the rescue, Minho stood before the Galactic Council. He was 14 now, taller, stronger. His eyes still glowed faintly, but he had learned to see it as a reminder of survival rather than victimhood. His mother sat in the front row crying with pride. I am Minho Choi, he said clearly. I was taken when I was 8. I was tortured, changed, programmed. The Vreth tried to turn me into a weapon, but they failed. I am not a weapon. I am a person who survived something terrible. I am a son, a friend, a student. I am human. He looked directly at the council members. You did nothing to save us. You let it happen because you valued procedures over lives. Humanity saved us. Humanity fought for us, and now humanity protects all children everywhere because someone has to. The council sat in silence. There was nothing they could say. Yuna had become an advocate. She traveled to different worlds, speaking about exploitation and abuse. She wore a small pin, a broken shackle, the symbol of humanity's refusal to accept injustice. She was fierce and brave and kind. She helped others heal by sharing her own story. At New Horizon Station, the Vreth servants continued their work. Some, like Kelmar, were genuinely remorseful. They worked hard to help the children in any way they could. Others simply served out their time in bitter silence. But all of them lived with the consequences of their actions every single day. Dr. Hyejin retired from surgery but stayed on as a consultant. She watched the children grow with quiet satisfaction. They had been broken but not destroyed, hurt but not conquered. They were proof that even the worst trauma could be survived. The galaxy had learned its lesson. When human colonies reported suspicious activity near their schools, fleets responded within hours.